cheap technology. So, this is going to be a little bit different from what I did even before. This video is going to be basically completely unscripted. So, I've got a little thing in front of me right now which basically goes over little bullet points on which to discuss. Other than that, however, we are basically just going to wing this one. So, yeah, for those of you, especially that one friend who will remain nameless who doesn't like it when I use my scripted voice, but... you know, this might be more for you, so yeah, let's get right into this. Basically, what we're doing today, as you can see right here, is we are going to be doing something that I want to do a bit more. So I have a few cheap phones that I like to collect, because I like to collect old phones, and even cheap ones like this, because they interest me. And so I thought, why not take some of these phones, and instead of just letting them sit there, why not, like, you know, unbox them and open them up and try and find out what's actually in them instead of the advertised specs that they claim to have. So, yeah, let's do this. So, for those of you that are Android people, you may recognize this box. I don't know if this is actually the same as the actual official one, but this is meant to actually be an S24 Plus. But if you look on the bottom of the box, or this side here, it says the model is actually phone. So, I do love a good Android phone. So, I mean, I say that as if that's not what they are. But fucking hell, Aiden, Jesus Christ. But yes, so this is from a little cheapo company that I found on Aliexpress called Fuffi or Fuffi. So, F-U-F-F-I. So, it's, you know, they're pretty... I think they're actually one of the better brands when it comes to their cheap devices. Or when it comes to cheap devices, not just theirs. So, I've seen like an S24 Ultra that apparently has some features that other cheap phones just do not have whatsoever. So, I mean, I took a quick look through this. I'll be honest, this is not the first time I'm going to be going through this. But it's been a while since I've done that, so I've basically forgotten what's in here. So yeah, we're going to unbox this, we're going to go through this and see what this phone has to offer and what it is currently hiding from us. So yes, let's start with the unboxing experience. So, you know, this is, you know, it's quite hard to get a grip with gloves on, but we're going to do this. Wow, very authentically Samsung packaging. So yeah, these are the IMEI numbers. Now, I'm pretty sure this phone is a dual SIM, like most of these cheap devices are. But you're welcome to see those and see if they reference or cross-match anything. I don't know why they've printed it off 4 times, well, 5 times. I can't really see you needing 5 copies of the IMEI numbers. That's a little bit weird. So, next in the box, we have the device itself. Now, we're not going to look at this just yet. I would just want to go through the rest of the box and see what else is in there. So, I mean, for those of you that saw, this is quite a big box. So, you know, like the sort of stuff you would see in phones in sort of 2017, 18. Not really onwards since then, because they stopped giving you anything bar a cable that breaks after a month of using it. But, let's have a look-see. So there is actually quite a bit of stuff in here. As I say, this is not the first time I've opened this, but I've put it all back the way I found it, apart from the fact that I had to rip open the bags because I'm an idiot and couldn't find the seal part. So, yes, the first thing that sort of stood out to me, because of how it's coloured differently from everything else, is this little thing here. So what this is basically you plug in a USB here, and it turns it into a Type-C. A useful little tool, I suppose. I've got a few of them lying around, but I don't see what this has to do with an Android welcome device, so I'm a little bit confused as to why it's in here. Also, I'm not sure if this actually is USB 3, or whether they've just coloured it blue, because they've done it in the Type-C as well, and I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. Yeah, whether they just coloured it blue to make it make people think, oh my god, it's blue, it's USB Type 3, when in reality it's probably slower than like a prehistoric fucking coconut slapped on a string or something. I don't fucking know. The next thing you'll find in here is a pair of very authentically Samsung looking earbuds. Now, I tested these for like a second, and from what I remember, they weren't good, but we're going to do some, you know, more authentic testing. And you may be thinking, well, why the fuck have they included, like, headphones? You know, that's a bit of a weird inclusion. We've got something to show you, and I will do, so just bear with me. Obviously, you've got your SIM tool that, as you can see, is already starting to bend. So, you know, it's only the highest quality materials going into this one. We've got an EU power brick, which is great considering I'm in the UK. So this is obviously very, very useful to me at this current juncture. Luckily, though, I don't actually need this. So it's just, it's a bit of a paperweight in this box. But I suppose at least I have one. We then have the charging cable. For some reason, I have noticed, this is the only cable the phone charged with. So I had to use this slow as fuck cable to charge it up fully because the battery's shocking on it, which is probably a surprise to no one. It didn't work with any chargers I have other than this, so it's a bit weird, but at least I have a charger that functions for it. So obviously at this point you're thinking, wow, you know, we've been given some headphones and a power brick, something you never see with new devices nowadays, because, you know, fuck the consumer, am I right? I like how we've just normalised that sort of thing. But we're not done there, bucko. So, as you can see here, we have a cheapo stylus that we will be testing later to see if it is just as good as the S Pen that you can get for these Samsung phones. Look how squishy it is. You know, this is the absolute highest quality. I feel like this metal is so shit, I could bend this if I just pressed hard enough. Oh, I felt it bend. It's obviously popped back into place, but yes, this is very, very, very bad. Very bad quality, but I mean, I don't get this with an S24 Plus originally, do I? So, that's one up for the Fuffi. But we're not even done there. There is more. As you can see in the bottom of this lovely... I can't grip it, these fucking gloves. As you can see in the bottom of this lovely box, we have one of these. Now this, my friends, is actually a case. I know. You have to buy all of this shit separately with your phone. But no. We've got a case included in the box. Now, granted, it's only one of these cheap ones, but... it's a fucking case that came with the phone. Like, that's insane. And also to finish this off, we have a screen protector. So obviously you've got the mobile manual here. We won't be needing that. Yeah, we got a screen protector here. I'm pretty sure the phone itself actually comes with one pre-applied, which isn't too bad. But I mean, hey, it's a screen protector, you know? We got a free screen protector. That's pretty good, right? I mean, it will probably break as soon as you breathe on it, but it's a thought that counts, I suppose. Fuffi has actually outdone the big name brands with what they include in the box, so yeah, fair play to them. So, we've put all that to one side, apart from the stuff that we're going to be using at some point. I don't know why I've kept these two out, because we are not going to be using these at any point. So yes, now that we've actually put all the stuff away that we're not going to be using, and we've got all the things out that we are, so the stylus, the SIM tool, and the earphones, let's get on to the main attraction itself. So yes, this is our S24 Plus. So I actually bought this phone. I've just realised I haven't talked about how much I paid for this yet. We'll go over the store page in a little bit, but I paid just over £30 for this, and considering how good Fuffi have proven themselves to be in other devices, honestly, for 35 quid, you can't really go wrong. Look at that bad boy. She is looking sexy. It's actually quite a nice looking phone, to be fair. The main thing that stood out to me when I first opened this is, fucking look at that. That's right, baby. We have a 3.5mm headphone jack. This device is better than the fucking iPhone 20 that won't have one. I guarantee it. Like, how is this little £35 device outdoing modern AAA? This isn't a gaming industry, what the fuck? Modern sort of hardware that Android, well, Samsung and Apple are both putting out when it comes to features. I don't fucking understand. Like, this is just... This has a headphone jack. It goes to prove that even though the devices are shit, you can still input a headphone jack and have space left for things. Like, come on, Samsung. Please start putting them back in. I will do anything for a physical headphone jack back in a device. That's so good. And then on the back, you know, we've got this lovely plain looking yellow. I decided to get it in yellow and like gold for the trim because it was the most interesting color they had. So yeah, it doesn't actually look too bad. I mean, the yellow is what I imagine it would be. It's a nice looking material. I can't really feel what it is, but it's definitely not glass because there's way more resistance with these gloves than there would be on, say, a glass back on a different phone. Also, you have the 5 cameras here. I can guarantee that only one of these will be real. Let me try and see. I think it's that one at the top that's real, because if you look at the bottom two, they look exactly the same, but this one looks the most sort of different. Also, it'd probably be easier for them to input a camera module at this point of the phone instead of here, so makes sense. I'm pretty sure these will do nothing, but the LED flash should work. So yeah, well, these are all the things we'll test, so yeah, let's get right into booting this bad boy up and seeing what's on it. Now, I can't remember if this is a welcome device. It is a welcome device. God, of course it's a welcome device. It's a phone I bought off Aliexpress for less than 40 quid. Of course it's a welcome device. They're always welcome devices. Ooh, that's a funky sounding thing. Wow, look at the very high frames that provides. Thank you, Fuffi, for this authentic experience. So yes, as you can see, the battery's on 99%. I did charge this up a bit before we did this. Like I did that a few days ago, I think. But yeah, we are in. So I factory reset everything, so I did put like an account on this so I could download a few apps when I initially went through this, but I didn't do loads. So we're going to do some tests, you know, we're going to check some like gaming experience, see how well it runs games. We're also going to run through CPU-Z. Yeah, we'll get into all of that at some point. So yeah, this is going to be really, really hard with these gloves, by the way, because of, you know, like how shit this screen is. Like, I don't actually know if you can, I tell you what, let me go into the settings and then turn on the, well, change the sleep timer so we can get a better look at the settings without having to touch the phone. So yes, we're on the home screen now, and as you can see, this screen is not looking great at all. If anything, actually, let me get out another phone real quick that is very, like, probably one of the cheapest new devices on the market and is insanely good value for money. So let me just do that. So, the phone I have got here is the CMF Phone 1. Now, this is a brilliant phone. So, the CMF brand is a sort of sub-brand of the Nothing sort of brand. So they make phones, you know, earphones, you know, watches, I think. Or I think it's just the CMF that make watches like I've got here. So yeah, they do a lot of stuff, but they try and sort of advertise their devices as lower cost but higher quality. So there are some things that you might find missing from your standard iPhone or your S24 Ultra, but this cost me £170. I got it on offer when it came out because, you know, it was a slightly reduced price. I'm assuming it's an incentive to make more people buy them. And it definitely worked. I absolutely love this device. You know, it comes with a nice plastic back, which you can actually replace to any sort of colour that they have available, or you can even 3D print your own. I absolutely love this device. Now, some of the standout features on this that I like to compare with these cheap phones are the screen and, you know, the battery and, like, the specs in general. Like, yeah, you're gonna notice that for less than £200, or about £200 that it is now, like, you're gonna notice that some of the specs are a little lacking when it comes to your S24 Ultra and their Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. This only has a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 in it, but it serves its purpose, and, like, I love this. And so the reason I wanted to get this out was to sort of compare it to this, especially the screen. So yes, this was 170 and this was less than 40, but, you know, this is advertising itself as an S24 Plus, one of the most powerful phones out on the market, and this is obviously one of the newer, cheapest phones you can get. So I think it's probably the best I can do. Starting off, obviously, I mean, the screen. You're not really going to notice it on this because this is a coloured screen, but this, I'm pretty sure, is an LCD, and this is a AMOLED display. So I really like the display on this. You know, it really gives you that popping color profile, as well as those deep blacks that you can see here. But this, you know, doesn't do as much. Oh, the wallpaper's changed, that's neat. But one thing I did want to show is, like, that is really slow. And this, if I can get it to, yeah, really responsive, even with these gloves. Like, it feels amazing to use. And, I mean, obviously it should do with a device of at least, like, over £100. You know, you're going to get that quality of the screen. But it feels so good. This, however, does not. So, it is not great from the get-go, but I mean, you get what you pay for, really, don't you? If we quickly just move this out the way, and you know, we can actually get started on the dive through of the settings on this phone. So yeah, let's get started on that. So, oh, I mean, just look at the smoothness of that. That's great. That's interesting. That's not like One UI or anything, which I'm assuming this is trying to emulate. I mean, it looks like it, but it also doesn't. I've also just noticed that this has Spotify pre-installed. It's just called Music. Why would Music need to do? So, what I've noticed... How is calls a critical permission for a music app to run? That's a dodgy start. I mean, I don't know why the music app, like the built-in music app, uses the Spotify icon, but I mean, sure. Also, I have noticed that I'm assuming this is the actual Play Store. Yes, it is. So we'll get an account put on this at some point in the near future. But why is he using that icon? That's really strange. Oh, I could just access my settings from here. Let's do that actually. So we're just going to take a quick look through the settings, you know, see what we can do and whatnot. So yeah, let's do that. Before we actually get really into the settings, I did just want to show that this is max brightness, might I add. This is max brightness right now, and it looks like mid brightness. So if I just get my actual phone up, so my Z Fold 5, granted, obviously, this is quite, you know, high-end phone, but let's have a look. So that is max brightness on that. And that's max brightness on this. It's not looking great. Obviously, it's a little bit hard to tell because this has a different wallpaper, but I'm sort of thinking it's white, you know, it's going to show up the best. That's... Also, the colour on this just does not look right to me. It looks a lot warmer, and this looks a bit cooler, but this... I usually like warmer, but this works a lot better. I mean, it's definitely just the shit script. For some reason on the camera, it comes through that this looks cooler for me. I don't know. Maybe it's the angle I'm viewing the phone at. I don't know. So yes, let's take a look. So yeah, battery is on 99%. So last full charge 10 minutes ago. That's completely false, considering I didn't charge it to 100%. I got to 99 and thought, yeah, that'll do. And I also did this, like I say, about 3-4 days ago. So, in preparation for this, so yeah. Consumption level, what's it going to tell me? Okay, that's not really, I haven't used this enough since I factory reset it for it to know, so that makes sense. Smart saving mode. Keep data, call and messages, recommend daily use. Okay. That's okay, so it already has a battery saver mode on by default, which is interesting considering how shit this battery will be. What else have we got in here? Auto launch management. What the okay. Power intensive apps. No apps. Right. Okay. So let's take a look at our display. See what we can get. So wallpaper will actually be a good one. So let's have a look at the default wallpapers. I'm pretty sure these are just default S24 Plus wallpapers. I could be very wrong. Please do correct me. Right. Okay. So these are basically the same. I don't know if this is a thing on the actual S24 or whether it's just because they've been poorly cropped. But I don't know if you can see on like this one and this one. I don't know if it's just me, but they're ever so slightly off on like where they're placed, and so I'm thinking they could be poorly cropped. I don't know, I could be just trying to find things that aren't really there. That's the exact same. Okay, now that's a little bit brighter. Ooh, we've got different ones here. So yeah, we got... I don't know if these are all from Samsung or whether these are from like different mobile brands or something. Yeah, they're not too bad. Like, they don't look great, they don't look terrible. You know, this screen isn't the worst I've seen in a cheap device like this. So, you know what? That's actually a win so far. Well done, Fuffi. That's kind of cool. So it does have the sort of accessibility options, but I mean, they probably come baked into a lot of operating systems by default. Okay, yeah, it's you know, fairly normal so far. One thing I do want to go through when we get to it is the developer options, to see if they've changed anything in there and also what we can find out. The first thing I did notice when I booted this up originally is the storage. So 32% use. I haven't installed a single app on this, by the way. So this is all just the preloaded bloatware. So 32 gigs on a phone that came out this year is not great, especially if you're, you know, you're someone that plays games on your phone. Like Fortnite now on mobile, it's like 18 gigs. It's huge, and so you're not going to be able to really use any of that. That's 22 gigs left. So I mean, you're going to be able to install Fortnite and like 40 songs on Spotify. That's not great. But yeah, as you can see, like nothing is being used in any of this bar the system. Can I even go into? I can't even go into it. Great, fantastic. Yep, these are also the only apps I can remove. So we'll go through the apps in a little bit. You know, the ones that are pre-installed. So let's just continue for now. They don't have a fingerprint scanner, which I find interesting, but they do have face unlock. I don't. Okay, I don't really feel like giving the Chinese nanobots in this phone my face, so I'm not gonna do that. But I can guarantee it will probably be something where, as long as it detects a face in the frame, it'll unlock. Doesn't matter if it's the one you scan with or not. Like, that's usually how these devices function. Oh, okay. Yes, I kind of remember this now. So, Hi OS. I don't know why they've used their own sort of proprietary operating system in this and not try to copy or at least put a skin of One UI on it. But I suppose it's interesting that they've gone their own way. Android 8.1. I find interesting. What I have just noticed, actually, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. I can guarantee you right now, there is not a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in this device. Right? There is not. They have clearly used some form of, I don't want to say root access or anything, but they've clearly used something in order to try and like prop up whatever the fuck model it is. So I can comfortably tell you that you are not getting a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 at this price point. 8,000 milliamp hours? Holy shit! My fucking Z Fold 5, my S23 Ultra that I'm recording this with, and the CMF phone all have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries. This has this does not have 8,000. I'm pretty sure I remember it not being 8,000. Also, even if I didn't remember that, it's obviously not going to be 8,000. Like, come on, that is insane. Supposedly a 1440p screen as well. That'll be interesting. Like I say, we'll go through CPU-Z or something and try and see if we can find the actual specs for this instead of just the, you know, the advertised ones that they've clearly put into the settings. Another cool thing I mentioned, if you remember on the side of the box that we looked at earlier, model phone. So yeah, the device name is phone and the model is phone. Good to know that they've kept that theme going. Right, now if this is actual Android, this should... No? Okay. It's usually the build number, is it not? Ah, right, it's down here. Alright, so we've just unlocked developer settings, let's go take a look at them. So, instead of having their own tab, for some reason they're in the system options. I don't know if that's something that happened on older Android devices, because I've only really started using the developer options on the past 2 or 3 phones I've had, so yeah. So let's have a look. So memory, let's take a look in memory, actually. So yeah, 3 GB of memory. That's not great at all. And considering I'm only running, what is it, like, okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 apps in the background. Can we refresh this? Because that's actually quite cool. Showing you how much RAM is free. So yeah, apparently it's saying 1.5 gigs is free, but then in here it's showing that 2.3 gigs are free, so that's interesting. I'm not sure why it's saying differently. Okay, so all of this looks fairly normal. I want to say I remember something being off in this, but I could be very wrong. So I don't know if that's on by default, but they've used tethering hardware acceleration, so they've obviously tried to put a bit more performance in this device without telling you, which I suppose is fair enough. You might as well do what you can. And oh, there it is. there it is. So basically, in your developer options, usually the window animation scale, the transition animation scale, and the animator and duration scale are all set to 1 times, and basically that means that's the speed in which apps will open up and shit like that. But that's so cheeky. They've set it to 0.5 normally, which is usually what everybody sets them to in their developer option, so it feels a bit faster. So they've obviously just changed it to 0.5, so it feels faster right from the get-go. That's real cheeky, Fuffi. Real cheeky, but I can't help but respect that. That's such a power move. Other than that, though, everything seems to be fairly... Wait, shortcut managers in here? Interesting. No? Okay, maybe it's something I do need to install then. I don't know. I've never actually worked with it before because I've never bothered using a cheapo device for more than 2 minutes. So yeah, that's the settings. A little bit cheeky from them, but I suppose, you know, in a device like this, you've got to cut corners where you can to try and get the most out of it. So I suppose it's fair, but I mean, people that are going to be buying this device for actual daily driver use are not going to be looking in developer options. So yeah, it's one of those that they could probably just get away with it. But you know, I'm very technically minded, so I have to look at these things. So yeah, let's get a Gmail account on this. Give them my give the Chinese nanobots and government my identity, so that they can turn me into a sleeper agent. And let's get some apps installed on this bad boy. More like 1 or 2 apps, because, you know, fucking 22 gigs of free memory. So, we're back. You know, we've put an account on this. I've given the Chinese government all of my personal information, and so now I will become a sleeper agent when China decides to finally invade Europe. So, yes, recommended for use, CPU monitor. Well, that's convenient. It's the Chinese nanobots heard me talking about it. I swear to fuck, they know. They know. Right, so typing with these gloves, yes, obviously sucks. But I had to actually take off my right-hand glove to input a lot of my information in because, you know, passwords and long emails and stuff like that. It was just as bad. It was genuinely just as bad. It was so awful. Also, it felt really sluggish. It was a good sort of 0.3 of a second at least before it realized what I was trying to input. It was so bad. Not unusable per se. Like, if it had been the only thing I'd ever known, then yeah, but yeah, other than that, you're not really getting much. That actually installed rather quickly. I was expecting that to take a little while due to how slow the storage and RAM probably is. But yes, we're also going to get Minecraft, because, you know, not a bad shout. We're also going to crack out a device you haven't seen on the channel before, but I have used before. My Backbone controller. Now, basically, the reason I'm getting this out is because I know the touchscreen on this is going to be absolutely abysmal. We will test it with the touchscreen just to see how it responds, probably not very well. But in order to get a somewhat playable experience out of this device, I'm going to need an external controller for this. So we're going to use this for games like Minecraft and whatnot. Until then, however, let's get back to the device itself. You know, what else can we download? I don't know what other games we can bother to get. As much as I would love to install Fortnite on this, it's not going to fit on the storage, so I'm not going to bother. Also, I feel like installing an 18 gigabyte file onto this phone might actually blow it up, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to risk it. So yeah, we can get COD Mobile. I'm not going to bother getting Warzone Mobile. If anything, it's not actually popping up, so I don't know if it's supported by this device. But we'll try COD Mobile. This is also actually one of my favourite mobile games of all time, Real Racing 3. It's been fairly intensive on any device I've tested it on, even like newer devices, so I think this is going to be quite a good benchmarking game. Also, it's made by EA, so it's going to run like shit anyway. You know what? I actually think giving it more than one app to install at a time might be overloading the poor little Fuffi S24's RAM. It's really not doing great. You know what, actually, while we're here, while it's downloading, let me talk about the display real quick. So the display, I'm pretty sure is an LCD, because LCDs, you can usually tell with, unlike AMOLEDs, aren't sort of actually the screen. You can tell that they're dipped a little bit because, you know, they have to be sort of pressed in due to the way that they work. And you can really see that with this device. I don't know if it's sort of visible on camera, but you can see it doesn't really look like it sits flush with the screen. Like, it doesn't look great at all. It really isn't great. One thing I have also noticed with this device is the hole punch camera at the top. Now, usually these devices, from the ones I've seen, just have the little notch in that the sort of really cheap entry-level phones have, like the Samsung A53, whatever the fuck it is. Like, they have the hole punch. They don't have the hole punch, like, because that'd be, you know, too expensive for them to implement on a device that cheap. So I am actually quite surprised that they've implemented it on this. Granted, the hole punch itself is absolutely massive. Like, if I try and find something on my CMF phone, I'll demonstrate. So yeah, like with the CMF phone, obviously I'm just on Facebook right now, but you can see like the hole punch, really, really small. You can see a ring around it. That's actually the screen protector I've got on this, but it's really, really tiny compared to this. Just, like, it's so huge. Now, obviously, I can't expect them to make it as small as it is on this because that'd probably be quite expensive to do. So yeah, like, I can expect it to be big, but the fact that they've actually got one at all and not just used the notch is actually quite impressive, and I'm very, very impressed that they've managed to implement this on a device for less than £40. Also, while we're here, I just want to discuss, obviously, you know, these phones when they're advertised. So, actually, you know what? While this is installing, let's go over the advertised specs real quick. So, this was the first image that I actually saw. So this is what they, you know, used to advertise the device. Now, as you can see here, the screen on that is just mostly screen. Like, there's barely any bezel, like, out of what you would expect to be on a device like the S24. You know, it's just the outer edge. But on the actual device itself, you can see the bottom bezel is just huge. And apparently, I learned this recently, it is actually really, really expensive to lower that bottom bezel. Like, it can be done, but it's not cheap at all. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. That's why on phones like this, for instance, like if I go into it, what you can't really see, but at the bottom, the bezel is ever so slightly thicker than the rest of, like, the bezel on the top and the sides, because like, it's a cheap device. They're not going to take the time to do that loads, because that would be really expensive for something of that price. So that's fair enough, but I didn't realise how much, like, it was actually expensive, or how expensive it was to actually reduce that, which is why on all of these cheapo devices, and even on, like, the budget Samsung phones or anything like that, you'll see that the top and side bezels aren't too bad, but the bottom bezel is just huge in almost all cases. So this isn't to be unexpected, so I understand why it's like that, but it's a bit cheeky of them to sort of advertise it as being basically bezel-less, so a little bit cheeky on their part, but yeah, you know, it's to be expected. It's being advertised as the Fuffi S24 smartphone Android, 6.8 inch, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of ROM, so they're not actually lying there. 5 plus 13 megapixel cameras, so I'm assuming that's 5 for the front, 13 for the back. Mobile phones, Google Play Store, dual SIM cell phones. So they just added some keywords on the end, as you do, but that's pretty much what you would expect with these cheapo devices, so I can't really complain too much. So yeah, it's 6.8 inches full screen display. Now, I don't know if that's actually true. I don't think it is, but I suppose it could be at the end of the day. We'll have a look when we get into CPU-Z. But yeah, it's saying, you know, enjoy an immersive viewing experience like never before with our 6.8 inch full screen display featuring a stunning resolution of 720 by 1640 pixels. So that's actually a 720p display in this, not the 1440 that we saw in the actual system, like, specs themselves. Notice they have also said, however, whether you're gaming, browsing, or watching videos, or using apps as if, you know, they're different, or the larger screen enhances your multimedia experience, but, you know, 720p on a display like this is not great. Now, because obviously with phones and whatever, the pixel density is going to be quite high as is, so it doesn't look awful. It actually, you know, for a cheapo screen, it actually looks quite good. But 720p, when compared to something like this, which I think is actually 1440p, it's noticeable. So yeah, as you can see here, it goes over the cameras again, so 5 megapixels and 13 megapixels. Again, I'm not sure, because it only shows the rear camera in this image, whether that 5 megapixels or 13 megapixels does sort of reference the rear and front cameras, or whether they're like the two supposed cameras in the back that do that. It also goes over the dual SIMs, plus the fact that it also has an SD card slot, which we will get into. You will basically need one if you're going to use this device, but I don't really fancy sacrificing one of my decent SD cards, so we're not going to put one in. 3G, which I found quite interesting. Most of these devices do run on 3G because, you know, they can't be asked to put at least 4G in. I'm pretty sure there is another Fuffi device that emulates the S24 Ultra that I referenced earlier that does actually use 4G, but that is a much higher price. It's about £80, I want to say. So, yeah. ChatGPT integration in this, just, I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. I can't really see that being possible on a device of this little power, so I wouldn't really hold your breath if that's what you're buying this phone for. You could get ChatGPT on most, like, normal phones nowadays anyway. Like, it will probably run through, like, the browser version because, you know, it's not running from this directly, but yeah, I doubt you're going to get much of a good or cohesive experience out of ChatGPT on this device. I'm assuming that's meant to be a MediaTek 7731E. I don't know whether that's good or not. I don't know enough about sort of MediaTek chipsets, bar like the one that's in my CMF phone, so I don't know whether that's going to be good or bad. I'm guaranteeing, actually, it's going to be bad, but I don't know whether it's going to be bad, or, like, not terrible bad, you know? We'll find out. Another interesting thing I did see here is the 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, that's still a fair bit. You know, my Nothing Phone 1 only has a 4,500 milliamp hour, and I'm pretty sure my, like, Samsung Galaxy S8 only has about 3,500, something like that. But 4,000, if you remember from earlier, is actually half of what they said was in this phone. So that's already a bit of a glaring difference that you will have noticed. So yeah, it's not looking great for this little Fuffi so far. So it's also advertising dual nano SIM cards plus your SD card slot, so you can easily manage your work and personal life all in one device. No need to carry multiple phones or worry about running out of storage space. Except you will run out of storage space. So with this is them going over the 32 gigs of memory plus the 3 gigs of RAM. So with the 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage space, our phone boasts a large memory capacity. False. That ensures smooth loading of screens and allows common game processes to run seamlessly in the background. False. Switching to other application takes mere seconds. True, it should be less than a second, not taking several of them. And you won't have to worry about losing progress even if your phone hangs up for an extended period of time. Whatever the fuck that means. You can clearly tell that these have just been translated poorly into English and they've sort of ran with it. But it is funny to say the case. And I do notice as well, the 3 gigs of RAM as well as the 32 gigs of ROM. What the fuck is the 20% and 40%? What is it? Oh, how is the 40% bigger or better than whatever the fuck came before it? Like, how is the 3 gigs of RAM 20% higher than 2 gigs maybe? Yeah, that makes sense, but 2 gigs is also shit. 3 gigs is not much of an improvement. This is... it's clearly something they've just put in so people go, wow, 20% better? This is such a good upgrade. You know, that's a fifth. That's huge. But obviously, they're nowhere near as good as that. I just want to say, actually, before we get into this, it's been about 10 minutes since I started installing it, and COD Mobile is only 35% done, so we are in for the long haul. Jesus Christ. This is probably my favourite one on the store page. 13 million HD rear camera. What does that mean? Genuinely, what the fuck does that mean? I think it's meant to be referencing the megapixels, but I can't really see that being the case. What, like 13? Why wouldn't you just say 13 megapixels? To be fair, 13 million is going to catch someone's eye more than 13 megapixels in 2024. Our phone features a powerful dual-core sensor and advanced AI technology in its rear camera. Probably has neither of those, including a stunning 13 megapixel resolution with quick double shot capabilities, image Rubik's Cube technology and AI scene camera, backlit photo and portrait composition. Your phone becomes your own professional imaging team. We will prove later in this video that that is in fact, yeah, it's not the case. Yeah, this phone is going to be it's going to be something to behold. I'm actually really looking forward to getting into CPU-Z. I'll tell you what, we might as well do it while it's installing, so let's get on that. So, you're all very excited to see what's actually in this phone, aren't you? So, we've got a few apps installed, a couple of games installed. Yeah, let's take a look at this. So, while Call of Duty's still installing, we might as well. This is the first time I've been on this page, and yes, I remembered WhatsApp was already pre-installed. There's an app called Face Unlock. Interesting. Line, I'm not sure what that is. I'm assuming probably some like Chinese instant messaging app, like IM. Twitter, that's interesting. Look, it's actual Twitter instead of X. That's really interesting. I wonder if they've just renamed the application file. Also, TikTok is already installed, so that sort of confirms what we thought earlier. We're not going to be bothering with any of those. The only ones we're interested in are the ones that are going to be on this bottom row. So let's just open CPU-Z and see where we stand. Before we get really into this, I just want to clarify that we are on about 80... What does that say? 84. Like, it's really not bright when it's at this angle for me, but then when I get to here, it's actually quite bright. So we're at 84% battery, and all we have done is go through the settings, and that went down about 2%. As soon as we started installing applications, that's when it started draining. So the battery in this is shockingly bad. So we're looking at an ARM Cortex A7. I don't know if that sort of means that it's anything else, or whether this is like the actual one inside here, because for some reason on my Z Fold 5, whenever I use CPU-Z, it also comes up as something that isn't the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but that has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 in, so I don't know why. But yes, this is interesting, I suppose. 768 megahertz to 1.3 gigahertz. That's not great at all. That's really not great. That's interesting, to say the least. So, in here as well, we've got model, phone, manufacturer, phone. So they've really kept up that theming. Board, like, ×1 or X1, honestly, I don't know what that means. I should probably do my research before I do these kinds of videos, huh? 7.3 inches I find interesting. Like, if they actually undersold themselves nothing, let me just measure this actually. It actually is 7.3 inches. You know what? Fair play. This was advertised as 6.8, but it's actually half an inch bigger. That's fair play. That's interesting. I mean, obviously, as I say, the screen's not great. Like, it's not that good at all. Also, 1440. This is a 1440p display. Why are they advertising it as 720p when it's actually twice as good as that? That is odd. I mean, if anything, you're actually getting more bang for your buck with this. I still wouldn't recommend buying this whatsoever, but in the case you did, because you're a weird collector like myself, you're getting more bang for your buck. So yeah, this runs on Android 8.1, which is to be expected. Most of these cheapo devices run on older versions of Android, usually around 8 or 9. Security patch level 2023, so I'm assuming that's the 5th of, well, it'll be October, won't it? Unless that's the 10th of May. But even still, for Android 8.1 in 2023, that's not too bad. Granted, it's probably their own sort of in-house security patch, but better than nothing. Unless, of course, it's full of Chinese nanobots, which it probably is. So yeah, battery level, good. That's interesting, it doesn't tell me what size the battery is. We'll have to try a different app as well to see what we can get. Level 82, so yeah, we've gone down even more. Discharging, yeah, that all checks out. Okay, so going into CPU X, it says decacore. Is it decacore? So that's what, like 10? 10 cores? That can't be right for a start. So yeah, 1.3 gigahertz. I'm assuming that's its boosted speed. Spreadtrum SC7731E. So the 7731E checks out from what we saw on the page. I'm unsure if this is like a well-renowned brand or something, but that's what we've got. So let's have a look at the CPU again, see what we can get. So yeah, it's the same sort of thing, and oh. They're trying to pull a fast one on us again, but we're too good for this. So obviously it says decacore, so that's your 10 cores. So core 1 through 4 are the only cores outputting 1.3 gigahertz. Cores 5 through 10 ain't doing shit. So they clearly just put the extra 10 there, unless that's something that they like do work after a little while. But you'd think that they would all work. I don't know. Like, they do on other devices, so. I don't know. I think this is just a bit of cheeky marketing from them. So, oh dear, it's only 2 gigs. Unless one of those gigs is reserved for system memory or something, but you think it would mention that. Interesting here as well. It says S24 Ultra for the brand and the model, as well as the manufacturer, instead of just phone. Oh, okay. So this app's way better. This is a 720p display then. Okay, so this definitely is a 720p. That's kind of shocked me as well, actually. 55 hertz. This CMF phone, 170 quid, 120 hertz. 120 hertz at that price point is insane. For less than 40 quid, getting less than 60 is still abysmal. That is shockingly bad. Holy shit. I mean, it feels like 55. You can tell it's one of those where it's not really like 24 FPS or whatever, but it's definitely less than 60. Like, it does not feel good. Also, the sort of input lag is just, oh, it's awful. Now, battery. 1,900 milliamp hours. Also, we're down to 80%. Installing apps on this device just drains the battery. Jesus Christ. Like, it is it's less than 2,000. And 2,000 is bad. Like, I thought I was sort of being kind. I don't know if I even said it, but in my head, definitely, I sort of thought to myself, especially actually, no, when I first opened this device, I sort of thought, you know what? It's going to be like 2,000. And then I remember it shocked me. Yes, it's all coming back now. It shocked me that it was less than 2,000. And I lowballed it and was still too high. So multi-touch. I'm expecting this to be around, I think I remember it being around 6 or 5. 5. There you go. So we only get 5-point multi-touch. And I'm pretty sure it's at least 10 on my other phones, but, you know, I only have 10 fingers, and I don't really want to use my feet, so, you know, yeah. One thing we will get onto in a little bit as well is the speakers, so I do want to look at the speakers, because I don't remember them being all that good. We will actually take a quick look at the flashlights and the torch, so let's do that. So, we've turned off the ring light, you know, let's get the torch on. Wow, you can't, okay, right, hold on, let me... Okay, so you can't really see it under there either. Okay, that's fine. So this is the one for the Z Fold 5. You know, it's fairly bright, does what it wants to do. It is actually really, really good when it's properly dark. It's what I use to sort of navigate myself around the house when all the lights are off. So, yeah, it's not too bad. Now, let's take a look at the Fuffi. Oh, God. Oh, God, that's diabolical. That's not guiding anyone anywhere. One cool thing I did sort of notice is that, I mean, you can see the light, but it sort of bleeds around the edge, so you sort of have this cool light around the side. Clearly because all of this here is just basically hollow. And so what it does is it just bleeds around the edge because it's going all the way around the back of that device. But holy shit, that's actually quite cool. But oh my god, that is abysmally bad. Jesus Christ. So I've got both the CMF phone and the little Fuffi out to sort of demonstrate what the speakers are like on each device. Now, if I crank up the volume, we can now see that the media volume on this is at max. So if we do the same for this, also at max. So we're just going to test how good the speakers sound. So let's first start off with, you know what, actually, so we get a reference of what a good speaker should sound like, let's start with the CMF. And I'm just going to use some Last Surprise from Persona 5 because it's a really, really good song. So, you know, it's pretty good. Pretty loud, you know, it's clear. It does what it sets out to do. Obviously, it's going to sound a little bit different because it's on my desk, so it's bouncing off the desk and then up onto me instead of just playing in clean air. But, you know, we're going to have to live with it. It does sound good, though. It's perfectly serviceable from these, but more often than not, you're probably going to be using a pair of earphones anyway. Oh, shit, that's a good point. We need to test these. We'll test these with this as well. But, yes, I'm actually quite excited to see how this sounds. So let's get into it. That is... Wow, look how slow that is. Ooh. Already I'm noticing. Really? God damn it, notifications. Yeah, that's not great. It sounds like it's being played through a cupboard. Like, it's really not good. If we just take a quick look to this again. Listen to how much clearer that is. That's so much better. Right, now that we finally got that off, this clears by a mile. I'm pretty sure everybody expected that, but this was worse than I imagined. But, you know, before we move on, let's test the earphones. I mean, just fucking look at these. Like, they're the old design of earphones. Like, they're just plastic crap. My gloves are already dirty, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's what I get for basically touching muck like this. Just fucking listen to these as well. There's nothing in them. There is nothing in them. Right, okay, I'm actually quite excited. I cannot remember for the life of me what these sound like. Well, which ear am I meant to put which in? Oh, you... YouTube is too much for this little device. It crashed. It... Oh, fucking hell. Oh! It's even worse than I thought they would be. I don't know if you'll even be able to hear this if I try and turn the volume up and put them against the microphone. Is that even going to be audible? I don't even know. I'm trying to speak quiet because I've had to turn up my mic sensitivity. Like these are so fucking bad, Jesus Christ. Okay, so now that we've tested these earphones, or what they like to call earphones, there's one more thing we need to do when it comes to sound quality, and that's check the call quality. Now, I'm actually quite interested to check this. I think I checked it before, but I was on call with one of my friends when I went through this, and yeah, I don't really remember overly much, to be honest. So let's you know what? Let's get this done. So let's take our really cheap sim tool that feels like it's about to crack in the palm of my hand. Well, not even the palm of my hand, just in between my fingers, and pry that bad boy out. But, you know, that is quite a lot of sim tray for a cheapo phone. Like, if I compare it, this is the one that came out of the S23 Ultra that I'm recording with. That is the one that's in this. Obviously, this is probably better because, you know, there's less on it. You know, you can fit more inside the phone if there's less on this, but that's just impressive. Well, that was a lot more annoying than I expected it to be. So let's call this thing.
So this is the call quality on the little Fuffi phone. I can't hear it as of yet, but I can guarantee it is not going to sound great whatsoever. Jason, you need to get the Fuffi S24 out, Jason. You need to use it to further your teardown, Jason.
Right, so yeah, that's the call quality. I suppose I'll find out when I'm editing this if it's any good or not. Probably not, but regardless, you got to hear it before I did, so... Actually, no, you didn't, because I'm going to be editing this before you watch it, so... you can tell this is unscripted, can't you? Regardless, next, let's get into the gaming performance. I'm actually really excited to see how this handles, so... Let's first try Minecraft, you know. COD actually didn't install. I don't think there was enough system storage for it. Like, Jesus Christ, look at that. Ooh. Let's just see how this performs. Probably not very well, but, you know... Let's get the good lighting back. Yeah, look at that. Really see that bezel now. Like, it is really sticking out. Oh dear. You know, I'm not even going to edit any of this out. You're going to get the full, raw experience of what this is like on this phone. Oh, that speaker. I wasn't even covering the speaker and it sounded like that. Fucking hell. Oh dear. Oh, it's bad. Fuck it, let's just go into creative world, innit? Yeah. Joystick, crosshair. Yeah. Wait, you know what we could try with this? The big boy stylus we got. It's just for... Oh. No. In all fairness, this screen doesn't actually look that bad. Like, it's definitely not as good as something like the CMF phone, but for 30 quid, you can't really go wrong. Wow, I mean, this stylus works quite well on this screen, but I imagine it probably, well, anything's better than gloves on this screen, so it tells you all you need to know. Yeah, this audio quality is terrible. Like, it genuinely sounds like any of my other phones if I'm placing my thumb over the speaker grill. Also, it's not dual speakered like a lot of other phones are. It is just this one, because usually you'd be able to use this, the sort of one that you'd be able to hear calls out of as a speaker. But it's actually quite jarring just hearing it come out the right side. It's taking so fucking long to... Jesus Christ. Oh my... You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get Minecraft up on my CMF phone and see what loads quicker. Of course, it now decides to load, doesn't it? We've still got time. Ooh, let's just see how quickly this loads though. Already the audio coming out of this is way better. Yeah, look at that. That's quick. And look at that. Smooth 60 frames per second. Nothing wrong with it. Absolutely fine. You know, even with gloves it works alright. You know, this is a playable experience. Granted, it's only Minecraft. You know, it's not the most intensive game in the world, but it runs great. It looks fine. It is good. Like this, I have played on this. I would consider playing it on this, like, more often. So this is good. This, however, probably not going to be very good. Let's Ooh. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my god, it's so diabolical. Holy shit. Oh, also, this stylus on that touchscreen, on the screen protector at the very least, is not good. Oh, yeah, you should fucking see that. Oh, no. Oh, dear, it's really... It's struggling. It's really struggling. Oh, no. Oh, it's... Oh, God. I need to put this in the controller. Hold on. Oh, fucking hell. It doesn't even fit. It doesn't even fit in the controller. I'm gonna have to do this the really fucking bad way of putting this in first. Oh, okay, right, she's in. Is it even gonna register? Is it even gonna work? No? God, this phone is such a piece of shit. Yeah, well, Minecraft runs. It starts, at the very least. I would not consider this a playable experience, though. This is not good. This is very, very bad. Probably, unironically, one of the worst mobile gaming experiences I have ever had. Like, that was terrible. Real Racing 3, however, should be oh, wait, no, I'm gonna have to install loads of shit in order to get this to work, aren't I? Oh, EA, you bastards! 384 megabytes. Jesus Christ, this is gonna take ages. Okay, it's actually installing fairly quickly, so I suppose it's one of those where we can just wait and I can go over some of my initial thoughts so far. So honestly, for 33 or 35 quid, whatever I paid for it, honestly not too bad. Like, it's for £35, you are getting an awful lot here. You're getting a 1440p screen, actually no, a 720p screen. Not great, but with the pixel density, it doesn't look awful. Like, it's decently bright. The sound quality's not good. Even though they are shit, you're getting a free pair of earphones and a headphone jack, so you can plug some actual good headphones into this. Granted, they're probably still not going to sound great, but it's going to be better than the percussion toys I've got over there. I mean, it looks nice. Like, it's actually a nice looking phone, all things considered. It's sleek. I really like the sort of, I know it's not, but it's probably like really cheap aluminium, but I really like the sort of titanium frame looking designs that they've gone for in the newer Samsungs especially, because they have that sort of edgy design, like a bit like this, where it's not sort of curved or rounded, but it's got more of an edge design to it, and I really, really like that. It's one thing about the older iPhones especially that I really, really loved. But yeah, this phone sort of has that, and I rate that, but I would not recommend buying this if you're looking for a new phone to daily drive. If you're looking for a new phone, if you're in the market for a new phone to daily drive that's cheap, get one of these. Get the CMF phone. Honestly, one of the best investments I've made this year. It's so good. And even if you can't afford that, you can probably find like a 5 or 6 year old flagship that will still run very, very well for about the same price, if not a little bit less. Like, you're going to be getting a decent amount for about 200 quid, but you're not going to get anything of any substantial quality for less than, I would say, about £150, maybe a little bit less if you can find a good deal secondhand somewhere. But this phone, do not buy it. It's bad. Like, it's not good. It's very hard to find a word that accurately describes this device, but while it's fun to go through, it's probably... I'm enjoying the idea of the device more than the device itself, in a way. Like, I've got a cheapo S24 Plus for 35 quid, and for 35 quid, I've got a decent phone with a 7.3 inch screen, and a very sleek looking design. Definitely just the one camera that they advertise as like 5, but it's serviceable. For when I want to play around with it, it's not too bad. Oh dear. Okay, we're in. I've just moved my mouse pad. I didn't want to do that. Oh, the frames. Oh, I can't play this song. It's copyright. Oh god, let's... Oh dear. Oh god. Oh, I don't know if you can see how choppy that is. I mean, even if this device could output 60, it's only going to output a maximum of, like, 55, because that's what the fucking screen's capable of. Oh, Jesus, this is not good. Are we in Kota? No, this is Laguna Seca, isn't it? Yeah, this is not optimized for the screen. It's... Oh, oh, God! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, it's bad! Probably like 10, 15 frames a second? That's not good. That's not good. Oh, it's so hard to control like this. It's so hard to control. How was that not a penalty? I went off the track. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't even play. That's genuinely terrible. That's worse than Minecraft. So, before we get on to the next bit, I actually just wanted to demonstrate how good the performance is on the CMF Phone 1. So, you know, we've got Real Racing 3 up again, and you know, I will let it have my data, because it's a good company and I trust them. And look how much smoother that is already, right off the bat. Ah, fucking copyright song again, I can't play it. Okay. Look how much smoother that is. Like, that is infinitely smoother. Not only all of this as well, works straight out the box with this controller. So, yeah, we get elite controller action. Look at that. All the assists are on for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. Just look how much smoother and better to play this is. It's so good. I could genuinely sit and play like this for hours. Like, I love this game. It's basically Forza or Gran Turismo mobile. And like, being able to play on a cheap device like this while still getting a stable over 60 frames, I want to say. It's magnificent, man. This device is a piece of shit compared to this. To be fair, I will stand this device for as long as I may live. Like, I absolutely love the CMF phone. It's such a good device, it's unreal. Back to the main attraction, though. My next port of call. Try and take this off. I've never actually done this on a device before, but I need to learn somewhere, and I sort of think I would rather do it on this little cheapo phone than do it on something like my S23 or my Z Fold 5 or even my CMF phone, to be honest. Like, I would rather break this and like in the process of trying to learn. And also the adhesive on this probably isn't going to be the strongest anyway, so you know, it'll probably be the easiest one to do it on. So yes, let me just go get my tools and we'll get right into this. Okay, so these are the tools I'm primarily going to be using. Might end up getting some more, but I've obviously got my standard screwdriver because there's probably going to be some screws in this. I've got my my suction puller, and that will be used in tandem with this, which is called the eye opener from iFixit. Basically, you put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds, heats up this gel, then you put it on the back of the device and it loosens the adhesive around the edges. So that's what I'm going to be using, and this probably for intricate parts, maybe some ribbon cables if there's stuff in there. But yes, let's get started with this process. Okay, now that now that I've heated this up, it's a little bit hot to the touch, and my room smells a little bit like microwave. Let's try and see if we can get this bad boy off. I'll be honest, I have no idea if I'm doing this correctly. I think I am, but I think all it needs to do is it needs to sort of sit around the edge. Like, this gel becomes a lot more malleable once it's hot. So it needs to sort of sit around the edge so it gets into the corners, and then you can sort of peel from there. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll give it a minute. Okay, we've actually got it. Bit unconventional, like, but you know, if it works, it works. This is quite exciting, you know. Having never done this before, I'm actually genuinely quite excited to see where this goes and what happens and what's going to be in it. So. You know what, actually? I should probably turn this off and requisition my SIM card before I do this. So, yeah, I'm just going to do that. Okay, so now that the phone's off, and I've left the SIM tray out because I thought it might sort of coincide with the way it all works. Ooh, okay. So, yeah, as you can see, this is the back of our phone. I need to get that off without it breaking. There we go. Okay. Oh, okay, that's interesting. It's marked as I don't know if you can see that. It's marked as 3,000 milliamp hours. But I mean, it said 1900 in CPU-X. Okay, that's quite interesting. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use our screwdriver to have a go at these screws, see if we can get this bad boy off, and then we're going to go from there. Okay, so now that we've got all those done, I am going to try and see if I can pry that camera module off, because I know yeah, look at it, like, the two ones at the bottom as well as the other ones are sort of just sat there they're not actually connected to anything. I did not mean to turn the phone on. Okay. Well, it's good to know we haven't broken it. Right, so yeah, as you can see, we have peeled a bit of the adhesive off. But that under there is the only camera module, and it's terrible. So, yeah, I was right. The one on the top was the actual camera, and then the ones on the bottom were just for show. I mean, that's to be expected with these cheapo devices. But the LED flash is there, even though it's absolutely abysmal dog shit, and the phone is currently booting, so... Fucking Fuffi! And you know what? Look at that. That's all that's fucking needed, like under there. Let me try and see if I can actually pry this bad boy off. Why am I using the crosshead screwdriver? I'm so used to like redneck engineering. Oh, okay. Ah, right. I think I've cracked it. Yes, there we go. So basically, the entire trim comes off. And now I know I have just lost all of the fucking buttons, but that's fine. That's fine. This is good, though. This is good. And I have just turned the phone on again, so, you know. Okay, so now that we've obviously got everything off, we need to... I can't even turn the phone off unless I can sort of... Yeah, okay, there we go. The buttons aren't properly on it. But, I mean, it's actually quite cool seeing it like this. Again, like I say, this is the first time I've ever done this to a device. So, well, a device like this, so... Yeah, it's actually quite cool seeing what's in this cheapo device. Right, so yeah, under there's our spurker. You know, there's not going to be much in there that's going to be that. Well, I mean, it was shit, so that tells you what you need to know about that. Obviously, there's your Type-C charger. There's the board down here. That's all that goes into a 3.5mm jack, by the way. That's all that goes into it. And yet, there's probably so much room that you could move about in a modern device where you could actually include that. It's insane that they still don't include them, but of course they won't do, because then people won't buy their Buds 3 Pro or the AirPod Pro Maxes. Like, there's still a place in the market for those. There always has been, like with wireless headphones, but wired headphones are just so superior in sound quality. Oh, okay, so... this is a little bit of film that covers the LED thing, the LED flash, which is... that little yellow dot. Let me see if I can pick it up and show. So yeah, that yellow dot right there, like under where that was, is the LED flash. So that's going to be... You know, I might actually keep this off, see if it helps give it a bit more brightness. We'll see. And I believe that's going to be your vibration motor in there. I'm assuming the actual chip itself will be under here. Let's see if we can get that off. I'm not going to be too sad if I can't. But we'll have a go. We'll have a go. And there's your front camera. You know, that's all it is. Just a tiny little thing there. It's actually quite cool. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any sort of like image stabilization in there. So the module just doesn't move whatsoever. It's very stuck. I mean, again, to be expected with a cheapo device like this, but it's still, you know, interesting. And there you go. There's your main camera module. As shit as it is. I wonder if I could sort of jerry-rig a better camera into this at some point. You know, using gloves is... You know what I might actually do? Because it's mainly my thumbs that are disgusting because of my crippling anxiety that causes me to bite my fingernails. I might just do what another YouTuber like Smalls does and put some plasters around it. Might make it easier for things. The battery's like directly soldered to the board, which is an interesting move because usually they're detachable in some way. Unless it's like attached. Yeah, this is... I don't know if this is part of the actual battery, this little thing. I think this is like a module that you connect it to. I could be very wrong, but that seems to be what it's sort of like. So yeah, the volume and power buttons, yeah, they're directly connected to the board through these ribbon cables here. So obviously these would be your volume, this would be your power. Probably didn't even need to, actually no, I am glad I took the SIM tray out because obviously if the whole frame comes off, that would have collided with that, but that's where that would sit. So maybe under there then is like where all of the obviously that's where you... Let me just try and see. Where is it? There it is. So, yeah, that's sort of close. I'm sort of thinking the little chip, because of how shit it is obviously not drawing loads of power. It's either under here or it's under this bit here, which would make sense for under here because obviously this looks like a bit of heat shielding and would make sense considering the sim tray only stops about there. But I don't really know. Why is there a Pokeball on the fucking PCB, dude? So I am gonna have to leave taking that off, but it is really interesting to see what actually goes into. Oh wait, I think this is just like, it's probably serving as a protective bracket or whatnot, but this is, don't know if you can hear that. It's just a lump of metal they've put in there, obviously to serve as a bracket, but also as a weight, so the phone just feels heavier when in reality it's got absolutely fuck all in it. Oh, I love the way that these cheapo devices try and recreate the feeling of an actual proper smartphone, with just these backwater black market fucking ways of doing things. It's so interesting and unique. You know, I can't help but respect it in some cases. I don't know, before we leave this, I don't know if this means anything. LCD. I don't know if that's telling me the sort of screen that's meant to be on this thing. Wait, yes, it should be, because I think this, judging from the fact that the ribbon cable goes under here and it's never really seen again, goes to the screen itself, so it's telling you what sort of screen is inside the device. I could be very wrong about that, so please let me know if I am, but that's what I'm taking away from this. A little bit of a scratch on the rear camera module, but it should be fine. Okay, so we were able to get this back on, you know, all the buttons are in place, everything feels good. Don't want to hold that down because I don't want to turn it on again like I have done for the past like 4 times I've used this, so yeah, let's just get the battery back into place, put the camera module back in because that's going to want to go back in there, get all the screws in, get the back on, and then we will finish this bad boy up. Okay, we've got almost every screw back in, but you know what, almost every screw is better than no screws, so I'm going to consider this a win. Now, I just wanted to quickly like feel about this for a minute. Like it's not, I don't think it's going to crack or anything if I sort of bend it, but I don't really want to try that. I don't, you know, this isn't as cool as of a technical look as it is on the Nothing phone, for instance, so you know, I can't really see much point in running without a back, especially on this. But yes, if we just push around, probably should not be putting this much pressure on it, but hey, life is for breaking the rules and living in the moment. You know what they say, carpe diem, seize the day. Okay, it keeps it keeps popping out, so it's a bit of a botched job we've done, but oh god, I mean, it works. I think it's that camera module that's sticking out the most. Like, I don't know if you can see, it's not smooth at all, but hey, luckily we've got something we can put on the back to try and counteract this. We've got the fucking case, boys, so if we put this very poorly fit case on that, it would actually probably fit on a real S24. There you go. Look, it fits quite tightly. No one would ever know that I took it off unless you watch this video. But you know, that's not important. Let's just put the SIM tray back in, and then I think we can test if it works, and then we're done, I would say. SIM tray is back in. I keep trapping my gloves in the thing. Well, it vibrates, the screen functions, so that means I reconnected the screen alright. This is so far looking pretty goddamn good. This case is absolutely horrible, by the way. Like, it feels genuinely terrible. Look at how poorly that matches up on the bottom. It's that could be anything. That could be build quality, that could be... That's interesting. So if I press down on the screen, it only really sort of flashes up in specific areas. That's weird. But I mean, I suppose to be expected. Fuck me, this takes ages to boot, doesn't it? Jesus Christ. Alright, it seems like she just works. Yeah, would you look at that? Everything works absolutely flawlessly. Even the camera! I reinstalled the camera I mean, it was only a ribbon cable, so putting the camera module back in was easy, but... You know, I am dumb after all. But yes, everything works. Now, would I recommend getting a device like this? Like a cheapo phone from Aliexpress? Now, no, I would not. The good thing about Aliexpress is that it's probably one of the most popular sort of markets and whatnot in China. And so you can find a lot of real brands on there as well. Like Huawei sell their stuff on there. Hell, even Nothing sell their Nothing phones and their CMF phones on there. I would honestly recommend getting one of these. You can probably find a second-hand one for about 150 quid, maybe 170 quid. Get one. They are so good for what they are and the price they are. Also, because they're new, they're going to be receiving security updates for years. I would really not recommend buying one of these unless you collect cheap shit tech like this, like I do. Okay, so this is the video test. You're going to have to excuse the fucking dirty-ass side, but, you know, as it is. So, yeah, we've got one on the CMF phone, as well as the piece of shit Fuffi S24 Plus. So, we got my boy Milo here. He's chilling. As you can see with the Fuffi phone, it's a lot less stable. There's no OIS or EIS. I'm not sure if the CMF has OIS, but it definitely has some form of EIS. Like, look how much more stable that is. Also, the colours pop a lot more, whereas the one on the right, so for me, it would have been the S24, is a lot more washed out. It does not look as good at all. Like, say hi to the camera, bro. You fucking little bastard. Yeah, these really don't look great. Like, hey, Milo. Hey, say hi to the camera. Say hi. Wow, you are so uninterested, you ungrateful little bastard. You feed you, and you won't even say hi to the camera. God damn it, man. But yeah, like as you can tell, this looks, well, the CMF phone looks way better. Quality-wise, stabilization-wise, color-wise, you know, lighting-wise, it looks so great. Whereas the S24. Yeah, she's lacking behind in almost, well, every aspect. Even drowns out my boy Milo here. Just does not look great at all. Whereas you can really see the detail on him on the CMF one. So, yeah, the camera's not great. And, you know, I thought it'd be best to compare it with another cheap entry-level smartphone. So, yeah, the camera on this CMF phone actually goes really hard. So, yeah, I mean, take from this what you will. But, yeah. I really do not get one of these as your daily driver. They suck. Really, they suck for what they are. They're not going to really be able to do anything long term. Still though, thank you for joining me on this foray and this adventure. You know, I've never done something like this before, and I've always wanted to take a device apart like this, and so being able to do this on a device that, you know, I haven't even broken, but is slightly cheaper than everything else, so I wouldn't have cared if it had broken. It was such a cool adventure. Breaking this thing's virginity, breaking my virginity for taking apart devices like this. You know, it's special. You know, we've done something new today. You've joined me on an adventure, something I've never done before. So, yeah, it's been really fun, honestly. Really fun. And I've enjoyed going through this device, checking how shit it is, why it's shit, and then digging into it and seeing what makes it tick, you know. That's all I want to do, you know, all I want to do with this sort of channel. As you can see, I'm doing a lot. While I am still doing gaming content, it's moving a lot, like, further away. I'm doing a few more video essays, obviously my Steam Deck video, now this, possibly more of this if it gets well received, because I really like doing stuff like this, and, you know, it's shut up, phone. I really like doing stuff like this, and it goes to show that even with the Steam Deck video, at this point, it's like over 5,000 views. People like this stuff, and I like doing it, so why not do it, you know? But yes, that's all I've got time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed me going through this little Fuffi S24 Plus. And if you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you have any more devices you would recommend me going through. I've still got a few that I wouldn't mind going through, so I've got a few more if you enjoy this. But yes, that's all I'm going to be able to do today. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.